The majority of young people who I deal with are, on the whole, likeable. Okay, they are very intelligent, they know what they want to do with their lives, and they are fine with the police. You will always get, unfortunately, one or two young people who, when approached by a police officer, will see the uniform and won't see the person beyond it. That is a two-way thing, because there will be police officers that maybe speak down to young people and don't treat them as maybe they should. But as I said, unfortunately, in this day and age, sometimes the media, sometimes the American television programmes, even their own friends will give them a viewpoint, and unless a young person learns to think for themselves and maybe behave the way they should, there will always be young people who will be in trouble with the law. But as I said, the majority that I deal with are fine young people.
We're calling them young people here. In terms of the people that you deal with, what sort of ages?
Any age, really, because although you do have youngsters from the age of 5, technically they are not criminally responsible until they are 10 years of age. But as you are aware, obviously from sort of 6, 7, 8, 9, most parents will be teaching their children the difference between right and wrong. We've had parents that say, can I come and speak to your little lad because he's been stealing money from his grandma's house, and he might only be 7 or 8, and if you have somebody in uniform talking to them and explaining it's not the right thing to do, it obviously doesn't make you a very nice person, and it's also against the law and will get you in trouble when you get older, sometimes that will help. So you have right the way across the board. I mean, I do find that when they reach sort of 15, 16, they do tend to think more for themselves and will have more arguments, which is fine on condition that they're not judgmental with them. So,
do you do a lot of work in schools? Do you go into primary schools, for example?
At the moment, with the primary schools, we actually are doing a project which is to do with an interagency quiz. Up here in Shepway, there are going to be some local schools invited along. Year 6, which is your last year of primary school, they will get an input by the fire brigade, they will get an input from police, they will get an input from the community wardens, hopefully the ambulance service as well. And what will happen is they will get lots of safety advice. Then that teacher from the year 6 class would choose 4 young people to come along and represent the rest of the school, and there's going to be like a big quiz held in Cheriton, I believe, and that will be in July. And again, it's a way of getting the information across, keeping them safe before they go up to secondary school and before the summer holidays. And also it's a bit of fun, and then there'll be a big cup as well. I mean, it has been working down on the marsh schools now for a good 3, 4, 5 years, so hopefully it's going to work as successfully in Shepway, courtesy of the community wardens.
Presumably it's quite key working with children of a fairly young age when they're still in primary school, in terms of things like crime prevention when they get older, getting the idea of the law across to them. Do you actually go in regularly in schools and tell them, if you like, right from wrong, or is that up to the parents still?
Sometimes it's up to the parents. Sometimes it's down to the teachers or the teaching assistants. We, myself, obviously as a police officer, you also have the police community support officers as well. And you must remember, if they have their area, they will tend to have a school on their area. They may well go in and be asked to address certain classes, as I said, be that year 6, your 10, 11-year-olds, or even younger. Or they might be asked to address an assembly. It could be because a young person has been seen in school uniform being a bit abusive to their neighbours, something basic like that. Or it might be because there's been thefts of mobile phones going on in certain schools, and suddenly everyone needs to be A, made aware of it, and secondly, how to keep their mobile phones safe. So again, it's a two-way thing. They need the information, but at the same time a youngster might come back and say, oh, that reminds me, I need to do this, or I saw this. So two-way relationship again.
Have you got any specific examples of where police officers like yourselves going into schools and working in schools has reaped positive benefits?
Okay, I think of an example where, because we link in quite closely with schools, for example, there was an incident with graffiti around Folkestone. Now, some people will say, oh, it's an art form, and obviously it's lovely and it's very pretty, but unfortunately it does cost the taxpayer lots of money.
It's an art form as long as it's not on my garage.
Yes,
yeah.
But it can be dangerous, because obviously you've seen them on road signs, and if somebody's coming in and thinking they're turning left and they can't see it, then I'm sorry, but it does cause damage as well. Plus the youngsters that do it, we have people that do it on the trains. Now, we've had examples where we have asked the schools to look out to say, do you know anybody who does a tag like this? You know, are you aware of any young people who, through their little grapevine, have been out and about really late at night? I mean, again, it's a two-way thing. We need to keep them safe. Do their parents know that they're out with their friends? Do they know where they are? And do they know that they happen to have access to lots of spray cans and are busy about to cause themselves injury whilst down at the train track? You know, things that we take for granted, these youngsters don't even see sometimes that there's dangers in it. That has been fruitful because we've shared information, and obviously because of that we can either rule people out or we can actually speak to them and have them arrested and say, I need to know what you were doing on this day because there's a suspicion that you've been involved in damage.
Have you ever done the thing that I believe they have in London and certainly in the United States, where they go through school books of pupils in a school and look for tags in the school books to see if they can identify which pupil's been tagging in the local area?
That is an option, and we could use it. We try and work a bit more along the lines of being a bit friendlier than that, shall we say.